Hi guys, welcome to the first video of these Paint With Me sessions I will be doing here on YouTube. Today I wanted to finish these portraits I started a while ago, and I thought it would be interesting to do that while I share with you how I know if a painting is truly finished. So there are 5 main points that can help you decide if you finished your artwork. We can put each one of these topics in 4 main categories, which are personal satisfaction, technical conclusion, emotional impact, and intuitive completion. So, for the first point, personal satisfaction, I want to talk about what I like to call the fulfillment of your vision. If you're questioning if your artwork is truly done, ask yourself if it fulfills what you had planned for it before you started to create. Something that helped me in the past was doing this exercise where I would write the main points in a piece of paper like a checklist, and later would serve me as a guide for me to know if my artwork was done. These points could be anything from storytelling to achieving a particular style, technique, or emotion. If at the end of the session my paintings checked all the points on my list, then I would say it would be done and moved on. The list will depend on the type of art you love to make, your priorities and intent. By doing this list, you will have a clear pathway to your process and you will understand your priorities before you start your artwork. Besides allowing you to objectively evaluate if your requirements were met, this will save you a great amount of frustration because you have a clear idea to where you want to go, and it's easier to have a sense of personal satisfaction. The second important point is natural conclusion or technical accomplishment. Now, the truth about art is that it's incredibly subjective, and what might be a technical accomplishment to ones might not be to others. If you're an abstract painter, then your views on what good art is are different from a figurative artist or from a conceptual artist. This concept of what is a good piece of art will influence your thoughts on either your work is done or not. So observe your art and see if the techniques you love are well applied. If you're trying to achieve good realism, then try to see if your proportions, composition, and values are good enough. Asking a mentor can be very rewarding because sometimes we're not able to see beyond our technical level, and mentors can help us seeing additional points to improve. On the other hand, if you're more passionate about abstract art, then ask if the patterns and effects that you pretended are already there or not. These are some ways of knowing if the piece is coming to its conclusion technically. Johann Finch, a German philosopher of the 18th century, said that what sort of philosophy one chooses depends on what sort of person one is. I like to apply this quote to art. What sort of finish one chooses depends on what sort of artist one is. Another point is observing the style of your piece. Ask if your art piece is part of a series of paintings or not. If there's an intention to make it part of an already existing body of work, then see if they are coherent together as a series. You can photograph the works and then put them side by side. If they easily blend with each other, then it might be a sign they're on the same level, which might mean your work is already done. Now, let's go to the third point, the emotional impact. Does your work create the emotional impact you're seeking within your art? If you're not sure, try to show to a friend or to your audience. See their reaction. Simply ask them, what are the feelings this piece evokes on you? And wait for them to reply. I love what Rick Rubin says when it comes to showing our unfinished pieces to others. He says that when we do so, we're not necessarily looking for an outside perspective. We are more interested in widening our own. We interrogate ourselves when we offer our work up to others, and our relationship to the work changes as we do so. We ask the questions we didn't ask ourselves before we showed to other people, whether it's by fear of judgment, nervousness, or many more things. Because in the time that you show your work to other people, then your intuition will tell you if it's done or not. This takes me to the last point that can help us as creatives to come to terms whether or not the work is done. The intuitive completion. If your feeling is saying that it's done, but you're not sure because you're apprehensive, then it probably is. For me, my paintings are done when I look at them and I start to contemplate. Instead of being the painter, I start to become a spectator. When you look to your piece and feel immersed in that visual reality, then there's a high chance that it's finished. And if you continue, probably will become overworked and lose the freshness. When I was 17, my painting teacher said that at one point in the process, the artwork starts to speak with the artist. And that happens in the transition from mere technical steps to the piece starting to come to life, evoke an emotion. The Greek myth of Pygmalion and Galatea describes this statement very well. This ancient Greek story speaks about an artist that started to sculpt the form of a human that would fit his own ideal of perfection. As he moved along the process, the statue was so magnificent in its artistry that it started to appear alive. He fell in love with it and started to kiss the ivory statue. While evoking the goddess of love, Aphrodite, he asked her to please bring the human to life. The next day, when he returned, he kissed the statue that slowly started to become warm and ended up melting into a real human. The two ended up marrying each other and having a daughter. This myth is the perfect example of a creator leaving the role of being a mere craftsman and start to become a spectator that views its own work as a breathing thing. You look to the piece that you're doing. Let's imagine it's a portrait and it feels like a real person, then it's a strong indicator that the artwork is finished, but also resonates on an emotional level. At the end of the day, there's no real formula to finding the answer. It is an intuition that you practice with each painting you make. The work is done when you feel it is. If you feel frustration because you hoped it looked better, or fear because someone might dislike it, then knowing that each of our own creations serve a purpose is a great help to gain courage and acceptance in order to let them be. By doing bad works, we are learning how we can improve and create our best ones. Accept it and move on to the next big creative adventure.